So what has attracted you to this story? Like, you spend like time investigating this and like looking up who wrote the chain letter, and like you said, you're reaching out to people on like Facebook and like, did you write this? So what attracted you to this story?
I have a long journalism background, and I've always wanted to get into filmmaking. And I had just remembered this. And then one day I was out at like a dinner and talked about it and was like, "Hey, do you remember that?" And the person I was with was like, "No." And I was like, "You don't know nothing. How do you not remember this? How did you not catalog this stupid thing from when you were 9?" So I went home and I looked it up, and there's this website, or this web page, which is kind of like a press release about it afterwards, where it's like, fans kick New Kids on the Block on the thing. And I looked it up and I was like, okay, let me do some investigating. Let me look what's going on. And I reverse search for the quote of the chain letter that they have in that press release, and I can't find it anywhere. Like, it's nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just search in New Kids on the Block, TRL, blah, 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 chain letter, and chainletter.net or whatever has a copy of the chain letter. And so then I take that chain letter and I copy it, a whole bunch of it, put it in quotes, and then look, and that chain letter is everywhere. And the other original like little snippet is nowhere. And I'm like, oh, okay, there's a lot more going on here than I had initially thought. There's like a weird putting it under the rug of the actual intent and motivation behind it, or at least at the beginning. I'm sure towards the end, when this thing was going to every single message board, I'm sure there was also some New Kids fans who were like, "Hey, why not? I'll jump in."
This is Watergate almost, right? Like, it's just not an ordinary break-in anymore.
No. It's like, it's weird to see
like you're doing all the president's
like
men.
This.
Like,
no, it is wild that they were trying to to keep it on the low, all this kind of stuff that they were doing. But it's for the dumbest thing ever. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so doesn't matter. Like, it's like, oh, okay, for one day, porn was 3 again instead of number 2. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, and everybody won. The people who watched it got to see New Kids on the Block and say, "Hey, I did that," which is funny because they're essentially getting the thrill that every 11 to 15-year-old gets by voting the day before. You know, they're like seeing the value of it, being like, "I voted for that. No, it's on my." No. It's like, oh yeah, well, 11-year-olds have been doing this for 6 months.
yeah,
like, it's a very silly moment, and I don't think that there's necessarily. It's just not as nefarious as it comes off. Like, the actual story like looks bad, but it's not. Whatever. It's an interesting story from 25 years ago about one single day. And while it feels super conspiratorial, and I suppose it kind of is, and there was a little bit of collusion, it's not necessarily. It's what it becomes is a harbinger of people on the internet believing that they can come together in a populistic way and really do something to the system. And for my money, I think this is the best examples of the internet coming together.
This has been a notable audio moment hand-picked from My Summer Lair, a podcast hosted by Sammy Younan. Visit mysummerlair.com for all the delightful details.